Hey everybody, what's up? I'm Krishna and this is Radio Decidendi, a legal show where I discuss legal controversies and explain them with the nuance that they deserve. So today we'll be discussing the Foxconn legal controversy, their hiring controversy. Now, basically Foxconn is Apple's biggest component manufacturer in India. So your iPhones, your iPad, you name it, basically Foxconn provides the components to make Apple products. So they're in controversies because the Reuters published a story where they allege that Foxconn has a secret policy where Foxconn themselves, as well as their subcontractors, refuse to hire married women, specifically for their assembly line in Sri Perumbudur, right outside of Chennai. Now, basically, the reason that firms might refuse to hire married women is that they want to get out of providing maternity benefits for female workers. Now, under the Maternity Benefits Act of 1961, all factories must give maternity benefits to pregnant women. Now, but what is a factory, and is Foxconn's assembly line a factory? So the law defines a factory as any establishment or any workplace where more than 10 people are working or more than 20 people are working. It's more than 10 people if you're using power, or if you're not using power, the threshold is more than 20 people. So obviously Foxconn would more than likely fall under this definition. So their whole idea probably is, if the allegations are true, that if I don't hire married women at all, they won't get pregnant, so I don't have to pay the maternity benefits. Now, under the Maternity Benefits Act, a pregnant woman is entitled to a total period of 6 weeks leave before delivery and after delivery. So it's a subtotal of some total of 12 weeks of paid leave. Now, the pay is calculated on an average of her salary for the past 3 months. So that's how that's calculated. And you can't just join a company and then claim maternity benefits immediately. So you have to be working at that company for at least 160 days in the past 1 year. So the law really does try to sort of balance the interests of pregnant women with the interests of employers, so people just don't come in and claim the maternity benefit. Now, the main question people are asking is whether this is legal or not. Can Foxconn, as a private company, refuse to hire who they want to hire? Now, the simple answer is no. I think discriminating against women, even married women, is reprehensible, and our law recognizes that as well. So let's turn to the Equal Remuneration Act. Now, this law says that no discrimination to be made while recruiting men and women workers. On and from the commencement of this act, no employer shall, while making recruitment for the same work or work of a similar nature, make any discrimination against women, except where the employment of women in such work is prohibited or restricted by or under any law for the time being in force. So basically, this law says that when you're hiring men and women, you cannot discriminate against women. But this law doesn't say that you cannot discriminate against men. So presumably you can hire only women, but you can't hire only men. You can't discriminate that way. The law also says where you hire men and women, you must pay them the same wages for the same work that they do or similar work that they do. So this is reprehensible from a social perspective as well, because this discourages people from getting married and starting families too. Marriage and family, at least according to me, and I know according to many people as well, is the essential building block of society. And it's integral that family continues to be the fundamental unit for policy making as well. Because when the family is the core unit of our society, individuals are much more likely to prioritize the well-being of their loved ones and their community over their own self-interest. Because when people get married and they have kids, they care about someone besides themselves for probably the first time in their entire life. So what I'm getting at is that when we have policy that does not take away people's choice to get married, I think that we do sort of build up a more compassionate society. Also, families provide a lot of unconditional love and support and stability, which is probably very important for your average human dealing with stress in the workplace, dealing with how tumultuous life can be. So I think that our laws definitely should incentivize, or at least should not disincentivize people from getting married. And that's why I think what Foxconn has allegedly done, is pretty reprehensible. Now, earlier I mentioned that Foxconn is actually Apple's component supplier. Now, what has Apple had to say about any of this? So far, Apple has not really said anything, but let's go on their website, because their website does have some pretty interesting stuff related to this. So this is Apple's website, and Foxconn is Apple's main supplier. So what does Apple have to say about any of this? Now, Normally, I wouldn't really say anything about Apple because they are a company completely distinct from Foxconn. Foxconn's liabilities and obligations are their own and not Apple's. However, there seems to be a lot that Apple themselves want to say about their workers and their supply chain. So Apple says here that business can and should be used as a force for good, and we uphold our values everywhere we operate, supporting the people and communities across our supply chain. So apparently Apple wants to support people across its supply chain, probably even the workers at Foxconn. So coming down, we actually do see a picture of someone working at the Sri Perumbudur component manufacturing factory facility. So what does this have to say about Apple? Will Apple actually take action against Foxconn, or is all of this just virtue signaling? Now, once again, Apple has this entire inclusion and diversity tab where they talk about underrepresented communities, and they basically prop up how diverse their workforce is. Accountability requires all of us to do our part, Apple says. So what is Apple actually doing about the whole Foxconn controversy? They haven't really said anything yet, but as you can see, there's a lot of claims of inclusion and diversity here. All of this is just meaningless. It's all virtue signaling. They do, however, have this thing here, Apple Supplier Code of Conduct, where here they say that Apple will assess its supplier's compliance with this code, and any violations of this code may jeopardize the supplier's business relationship with Apple. Going down here, they have this anti-discrimination provision. The supplier shall not discriminate against any worker based on age, disability, ethnicity, gender, marital status, etc. Right? So Foxconn is allegedly in violation of this anti-discrimination provision. But here's the thing. This supplier code of conduct is a legally vacuous document. So Apple's website seems to be extremely concerned with worker welfare. Does this actually mean anything? Can Apple actually invoke this supplier code of conduct to take action against Foxconn, potentially breaking away from a contractual relationship with Foxconn? I think the answer is we all know that they won't do that, but can they legally do that? The answer is no, because Apple's supplier code of conduct is not a contract between Foxconn and Apple. It's not a contract at all. It's just a 200-page document, which is probably just there for, again, aesthetic purposes, much of the diversity they talk about on their website. It's not legally enforceable, it is not a contract, and it cannot actually be used against Foxconn. It's just there to maybe appease Apple's consumers. So everything there is legally vacuous. Labor officials actually did pay a visit to the Foxconn factory over the week, and they did discover that there was in fact no preliminary evidence of any discrimination. They went through reports and official hiring practices, interviewed executives in HR. They had also interviewed some married women, and they said that there was no discrimination that they had faced. Interestingly, Foxconn did give data on how many married women they were employing. But the thing is, this data is throughout all their facilities, right? It's data from across the board. The allegations in the present case are that they're not hiring married women specifically for assembly jobs, and Foxconn has not provided data specific to that one assembly line factory. So that's essentially what's going on. I assume that the investigation will continue, and we'll get a more concrete idea of what's happening at Foxconn in due course. So that's all for my discussion on Foxconn. So later this week, or maybe early next week, I will be releasing my next video on Trump versus United States. The Supreme Court, the SCOTUS judgment where allegedly Trump has been given absolute immunity. I don't think it's absolute immunity. I have a lot of views on that, so stay tuned for that as well. I know I said I would upload twice a week, but it's immensely difficult to get any of this recorded. When I start speaking, I start blabbering, or I have a script in front of me, but I don't refer to the script a lot because I have to look at the camera as well. Still getting used to this. Please bear with me. I hope as I go on, I will be able to upload more consistently, but till then, see you. Thanks for watching.